morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Pitch Strike Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tats. I'm here with Donald, and it is Friday. It is the preseason, so it is an open panel Friday. The link will be coming up in a moment after we do our little intros. Donald, the WBC, there's a couple things I want to get into because it just seems like there's more narrative towards all the controversies and all the negativity rather than the on-field play. And I kind of think that it's kind of stealing the attention away from the play on the field. And I kind of think it's really unfair to the players that are involved. And some of the players are causing their own controversies. I'm going to rattle off a few. We're going to put the link up. Like I said, you can join the chat, give us your points. The other thing I want to get into, I heard on a conversation yesterday on the fan with Evan and Tiki, I think deserves discussion as well, about LaGrange. Well, LaGrange, however you want to pronounce his name, that, he's having a phenomenal spring. And if they call him up, there's no room in the rotation. So you take a starting prospect and put him in the bullpen, and are we looking at the next generation of a Jabba Chamberlain? And Jabba's a guy that we watch play and have a lot of respect for what he done. And are the Yankees on the verge of making another mistake of holding back a pitching prospect as a starter because of room in the rotation, but definitely has the stuff to pitch in the major leagues? What are they going to do with him? Do they hold him back and yankify him, or is he going to just go from a starter to a bullpen guy? We saw it with Jabba. Phil Hughes was another one that bounced back and forth between starting and being a bullpen arm. As you saw in the 2009 World Series. And, another player that comes to mind, one of my favorite pitching prospects of Loizaga, who was a starter that went to the bullpen and did the bullpen, caused him to stay, was that the reason for his health, that he did not have the work stamina to pitch on a daily basis as opposed to every 5 years. So that's something we can get into, later on, if the time calls for it. But with the WBC, there's a couple of controversies that come to play, in my mind. We went over it the other day. Judge no-win situation. I'm not going to rehash that whole thing. We can get into that with the open panel if they want to bring it up. The comments from Julio Rodriguez for Team Dominica, who's saying that this would be more to him than winning the World Series. Mark DeRosa, the guys were gassed, they were all tired, partying too much. That's another controversy. Players from what's going on, Luca. Players from Major League Baseball playing outside of the U.S. for whatever country that they originated from, but were born in the United States. There's just, I feel it's unfair to the competition that it's just this constant narrative where all the off the field issues are overtaking the on field competition. And I think that's going to hold back the growth of the WBC and hold back the growth of the sport worldwide. As we're starting to see a lot of players from other countries integrate into the MLB. This is also a showcase for other players that were not on MLB's radar, that were not on the radar of the international scouts, that they can go, this kid can play. He should get a shot.
Okay, so from my perspective, the only major controversies from Team USA. That's the major controversy. The major controversy is Mark DeRozan not knowing the rules. His GM, I believe his name Hill, the GM, he should have been able to tell him exactly what the rules of the state of play of engagement was. In terms of the group stage, and both of them were completely clueless in that regard. So that's controversial.
Yep.
Another controversy again is coming from Team USA. Mark DeRozan is saying that his players were dragging. Why were you dragging? Oh, because they were out partying the night before. You've had all off season to party. You have had all off season to go on vacation. Why are you treating representing your country as an opportunity to go for a freaking have a great time? In Mexico, knock down some sangrias and tequila shots and chill by the pool. That's controversy in itself. And Julio Rodriguez saying that this would mean more to him than winning a World Series, I wouldn't say it's controversial. It means it just shows to me how much representing his country means to him. And I have to say that I think a lot of these countries really are going for it. You know, you get Japan, it means everything to them. They're unbeaten. The DR, it means everything to them. Got Team Italy are playing way, way above what anyone's expectations are. Shout out to Franco Cervelli. So, in that regard, I don't see any controversy from other countries. The biggest controversy is from Team USA, who aren't taking it seriously. I mean, give me the evidence that they're taking this seriously. They didn't know what the rules of the group stages were. Now, it was convoluted, far too convoluted for me, but I'm not the manager or the general manager. He should know that. And having his players go and party the night before, and he's like, you know what, they're kind of dragging, so it's all right. Does that really give you a great national feeling of identity? It just seems like there's some members of that team. I'm not saying everybody. I'm not saying judge, but I think they have the mentality that they'll just show up. That they can just show up, and it's not that big a deal. Whereas the countries that I've mentioned are really giving it everything they got. So I think that the only controversy is from Team USA. That's my personal opinion. And I think it's a terrible look. It's an embarrassing look. It's an embarrassment what DeRozan did and the general manager did. And seriously, if they don't reach the final, then heads got to roll. DeRozan should be tarred and feathered.
Yep. And Luca, we're going to throw it to you. Give your thoughts on the controversies. I am going to be putting the link to StreamYard in the chat, as it is, like I said, an open panel Friday. So if you're a subscriber on YouTube, you will be able to come on and join the conversation, lead the conversation, whatever you see fit. Fridays up until opening day is all about the subscribers and getting their points of view and giving them the floor. So, Luca?
Yeah. So, Dal, basically you were just saying that the Team USA was kind of acting like the Yankees. They could just show up any day. They could just show up any day and be like, well, don't have to show up for this game, but the next game we could show up and everything will be great.
Yep.
But Tats, I don't know if you mentioned the Open. I think 4 teams were delegated or relegated, whatever, in the WBC. I think one of them was Czech Republic, one of them was Nicaragua, one of them was Israel, and I think there was another team in there somehow. Let me see. Teams relegated. And I mentioned this back on Wednesday. Some of these teams, like the Czech Republic and Australia and Great Britain, and obviously they have these advanced matted teams, you're not playing against Major League ball players. You're playing against some players who might not even play baseball. They're kind of working blue-collar jobs or whatever. But Donald, mentions the meaning of how these games are so important for them. As Donald mentioned, even if they got a ton more players or not a ton more players, DR means a hell of a lot to them. Puerto Rico means a hell of a lot to them. Italy means a hell of a lot to them. I'm sure Great Britain, even as I said, the players who are not professional. Same thing for Australia, whatever. Why is Team USA just like, another day? Get absolutely whitewashed by Italy. And Italy was probably the underdog heading into this game or into that matchup.
Absolutely.
So it's shameful by Team USA. Obviously, got to see if they can rebound. I think they face Canada, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, they're a prideful bunch too. But we talked about it on Wednesday. This is about the closest thing we have to the Olympics in terms of baseball. It's about the closest thing. Again, not every country participates, obviously, but it's kind of shameful that the U.S. is kind of letting us down. That's what I got to say.
Look, could you imagine Steve Kerr just going, all right, Steph, LeBron, KD, Bam, you guys go party.
Just take a seat.
Yeah, just go party. It's fine. We don't know whether we're through or not. Just go party. It's fine. And then the next day going, oh, yeah, these guys, they can't play because they're hungover.
Or back in the day, Melo, and as essentially same core characters, Durant, LeBron. You could go back to that 2012 FIBA team.
Right.
I'm sure they'll take the rest. Yeah, okay. No.
Exactly. It's just like that would never ever happen.
Never.
So why is it okay for the baseball version to do that? It's not okay. It's not okay. They've had all off season to be on vacation and partying. This is business. This is serious. You're representing your country. There's an opportunity to win, and they're not taken seriously. Not as seriously as the DR are, certainly.
Right.
And these countries, as you've mentioned, it means everything to them. I just want to work out why it's different for the USA. It should mean everything to represent your country.
Absolutely.
Look, I think a lot of the players, especially the MLB players, and which is pretty much everybody on Team USA, is looking at this more of a more competitive spring training than a worldwide competition. I think that, and we could put that on the list of controversies, is, because, one of the other narratives was, that Team USA is too buttoned up. Well, we saw in the other game, Mark DeRosa is not buttoned up because he's not paying attention to the rules and, telling the players, all right, we're good. Go enjoy yourself. Meanwhile, you have, the team for the Dominican Republic, really, you just see them embracing every moment that comes to them. And it leads you to believe that I think the Dominican Republic, and it's much of an American I am, but when you look at the competition itself, I don't see who's knocking that team off. Because they actually, I think them and, of course, Japan's always a team, you can't sleep on. But these guys, they're playing to win this thing. They're not just going through the motions.
Absolutely.
They are really playing for their native pride. Right. And I think that will always come more to the forefront than the talent that's on the rosters itself.
Exactly. It's a great point. I think that at the moment, Japan are unbeaten. There's and they it means everything to them too. So they're going to give it everything they got. I think there's a very good chance it could be them in the DR. I previously predicted the USA, but after their antics of late and needing to get in, and needing to get in through the back door, it took other teams to help them to get through. I'm not convinced that they're gonna do it, and they'll beat Canada, surely. Good God, they'll beat Canada. But I'm not quite sure. there's something that stinks in the state of Denmark right now.
It's something rotten in Denmark, yeah.
Yeah, and it's coming from Team USA because of Mark DeRosa. So, and some of these players that obviously aren't taking it as seriously as they should. So, I'm pretty pissed about that. I'm pretty pissed. Why don't at the end of the competition go and make it spring break? I don't care. But while you're competing, why aren't you giving it everything you got? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Agreed.
Yeah. Luke, I'll give you the floor. Yeah.
Yeah, listen, I mean, Dallin, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, Dev Finch already said in the chat that the players are lazy. Clearly they are. As Dallin, you said, players had all off-season to party. Could have been the DR, Puerto Rico, Aruba, partying, whatever. Now they pick now to party? Like, come on. As I said, they're just not taking this seriously.
Yeah.
It's the closest thing they have to the Olympics.
Yeah.
And, we literally just saw the Winter Olympics. So it's like, okay, this might not be the Olympics in name, but in value, I think we should play like it.
Right.
And I get and I know, like, Castellanos, okay, he was born in America, but he is playing for the Greek team. Okay. But still, for the rest of the guys in the roster, I mean, that's a litany of talent right there. I mean, DR, Down, as you said, was playing their butts off. They have a loaded roster. They got Gregory Soto, Wandy Peralta, Severino, Estevez. Let me tell you something. Albert Pujols is doing one hell of a job being manager of that DR team. Pujols is great. I mean, I loved him as a ball player, but clearly something's tapped in as a manager, and he's really pressing for urgency, and he really wants this team to win the entire thing. I mean, former Yankee prospect Augustin Ramirez is on the roster. Junior Caminero, I mean, he was in the home run derby last year, if I'm not mistaken. You got Manny Machado and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the same infield. Oofa. And once Soto.
That's why the way they're playing, I don't see anybody really, matching their not only the talents but their energy for it. When you're into it, you're unstoppable.
Of course.
And it just like that's what's bothering me about the USA team. It's just a competitive spring training. There's no, I don't want to say that they don't care. I think that's unfair.
Mm-hmm.
But their energy level is not rallying. The fan base for Team USA the way that we were rallied around the hockey teams in the Olympics.
Yes.
I expected them off of those two Olympic golds to like really carry the momentum of the United States sports and have a big following, and them feeding into it, going, we're going to keep now it's on us to keep this train going, and they're kind of just on autopilot.
Yeah. And what's the thing is as well?
Duran disagrees with you, Tats. Let's see what Duran said. Baseball players are never in full-blown banzai mode in this time of year, Tats. Well, maybe not Team USA, but I'll tell you what, man. There's a lot of those teams that are really going for it, man.
Yeah, DR is going for it. Italy.
Yeah.
We just mentioned that Julio Rodriguez said this would be bigger than a World Series for him. So he's clearly going banzai mode. So clearly it means more to some than it means to others. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
Yes. What I was trying to say was, I think of, obviously how the USA is lax and everything. And like, everybody calls the NBA soft and the load management and stuff like that. But yet they're busting their ass whenever it comes to FIBA or the USA Olympics. Why can't Major League Baseball? Again, the problem is you have teams like the DR in Italy competing their asses off. Eventually, they're going to have to go back to Major League Baseball. But even regardless that they have to bust their ass for 162 games a season, where USAA is like, we're entitled. We'll just take the game off.
I mean, again, I go back to my point, Duran, but I do thank you for the comment. Well, it's also showcasing players on the fringes. That I don't disagree with that. But again, it means more to some than it means to others. I think that's basically my point. I mean, you're going to tell me that Juan Soto doesn't want to win for the DR? You know how much it means to him. There's a lot of guys on that DR team where it means everything to them. And I think it's probably because, well, I mean, there's certain arguments that it depends on the type of player that you are. If you're a guy that just always, goes hell for leather, professional, those types, they'll deliver on the big stage. Whereas I think there's others that are a little bit more chilled about it. And then the USA are such an established baseball entity. Maybe they're a little bit more chilled about it. Whereas DR, it feels like they're playing for something. They're representing something. They're representing their country that maybe doesn't get the national attention that it does in other sports. So, like, when it comes to baseball, boom, they're going for it, and I just think it means more to some than it means to others. And I'm not going to speak for everyone in Team USA, but I think there's some of them that are treating this as an extended spring training.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's, it's the extended spring training. I think that's a legitimate narrative. But there's no, aside from, and to me, it should be, on the forefront. You're representing your country. You should put that, that should be the reward itself.
Facts.
But you're really not getting anything if you win. You're, I don't know. Is there a monetary, you get a little trophy, but it's not like the winning team is, doesn't have anything to worry about it, financially. This, a lot of these players that are not in the major leagues are going back to work when this thing is over. Whether, whatever aspect that they're employed in.
Yeah.
Maybe those should be players that puts a little more, emphasis through the scouts to say, all right, let's try to get this guy in because the dude can play. You're not I don't get that vibe that, Major League Baseball is rewarding the players that are not major, on a major league roster. There's no reward for them. It's all pride of country. And that, I think the pride of it should, overcome any of the other stuff.
I do agree with this, though. Maybe it's because national pride is not embedded in professional players in the USA in terms of baseball as it is for like basketball and soccer and stuff like that. That I can definitely agree with. But my question is, why not? Why not?
Well, I still think the WBC is still in its infancy. To really have the momentum of soccer, basketball, cricket, rugby, as Doran mentions. I think it's still you still need a little more time for it to gain momentum. You can I've heard it compared to the in-game tournaments in NBA. Where eventually there might be something to it where it's worth wanting to win that. The WBC, just like the in-game tournament, is not there yet. You get a banner for your stadium. Big deal.
That's
You
actually
know?
that's a good comparison. Actually, I like that comparison.
Thank you.
Makes a lot of sense, man.
I think the infancy of it is a big part of it.
Yeah,
Maybe if they did it every year instead of every 4,
That's
you
true.
might see a little more, or every other year. Because you do have players that want to focus on, if they're going into a contract year,
yeah.
that they might want to just focus on that. But, every 4 years, I don't think it's going to get the momentum,
That's a great
especially
point. Like every 2
especially on the
years.
USA team's front.
Every 2 years, I think it would be great.
Yeah. The time of year, there's no right time to do it. What are you supposed to do it during the All-Star break? You can't do that. I think the time of year they do it with spring training, I actually have no issue with that.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
No, not at all. There's no other time you could really do it. Can you do it post October when everyone's finished their season and winding down? No, you probably can't. It's probably not the time to do it. So spring training is the perfect time while you're ramping up. It makes all the sense in the world. It's just anyway. There's every chance that the USA go on a run here. They beat Canada tonight,
Oh, sure.
and then and they go on and make it exciting and make an exciting tournament. But I just can't get past it that they had to get through the back door. It's just a horrible look, embarrassing look, especially considering the USA are the established nation in baseball, and to be pulling that shenanigans. We're kind of dragging a little bit today. It's not fucking Jersey Shore. What the fuck are you doing? Honestly. Let's say hello to those in the chat. We got Sean Browning. Got Sean Browning in the chat. Got Chris Northrup. It was a pleasure to be on Chris Northrup's show on debut show. So that was a lot of fun. Go check her out. We got Issy in the chat. I'm going to be positive today. I promise. You just be you, bro. I'm just going to listen quietly. But the thing is, guys, the link is in the chat. That's right. The beautiful link. That means that you can talk to these 3 handsome people and talk sports and debate sports with us. So hop on.
I think part of this whole thing is I want to wrap it up with the 3 of us with the WBC. If somebody comes on the open panel wants to reopen a discussion, they're more than welcome to, of course. It's also very poorly marketed. I think MLB could do a little bit more of amping up the WBC. Just like I always said, I really wish they would, amp up, access to the games in the minor leagues, especially on the AAA level, where they need more accessibility. Like I said, one of my ideas was, they have the MLB network, have, a second channel where you have full access to the minor leagues. So you're getting dual coverage. Financially, that's going to be a little bit of, that might be a challenge because most MLB fans don't pay attention to it. But I think they do need to have something. Yes, they have the MILB app, available, which I recommend a lot of people. If you are a deep baseball fan, you should have that on your phone. Because you get all the updates on prospects for your team and around baseball. So there's a little plug for them. But I think in regards with the WBC, I think it needs more accessibility. It needs better promoting. I think that what kind of stole momentum this year was right off the gate, there was the whole issue with all the insurance for the players. And I think that turned people away from it.
I agree. I think if the major markets getting their AAA team televised, I think would be pretty good. Like, for instance, I'll be perfectly honest, I'd be more interested in watching Scranton than this current Yankee team because a lot of the players that I'm actually interested in are going to be playing for Scranton this year.
Yeah.
Rodriguez Cruz, LaGrange, Spencer Jones, Dominguez, my boy Lombard. All these guys are going to be in all these boys are going to be in AAA. So the AAA team is going to be interesting. I'd want to watch that. I want to see how these guys are doing. Now, as for the smaller teams, they'll just be bypassing AAA anyway and getting them up to the majors. These teams like the A's and stuff like that. But certainly for the major markets, I think there's something that could be said for that. But I don't know how they would make that work. But I would definitely like to watch the Yankees Scranton team. It would be a lot of fun.
Luca.
I mean, the Yankees, I think, even have a show dedicated to the minor leagues. I think it's like
Yes.
On the Farm or something like that. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I remember when I lived in Pennsylvania, and obviously they had the S Network. They had what was called Line 9, which eventually turned into WPIX. I remember when the Yankees, I think it was also, they had a channel like My 16 or something like that, something of that sort. I remember when they used to host, when not even just the Rail Riders or the Scranton Yankees, what once was. I remember when the Phillies used to have their minor league team, the Iron Pigs, on. So that's an interesting, and you know what the appeal was? The Iron Pigs only played 40 minutes away from where I used to live in PA. So maybe not even 40. Yeah, probably around 40 minutes. So maybe there's some appeal there. Like, imagine you're a fan in Brooklyn, right? You're a Met fan. The Cyclones, wherever you are in Brooklyn, Cyclones playing Coney Island. Coney Island is a major tourist attraction. We're slowly in the.
I was there all the time when I lived there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Nathan's, the boardwalk, the rides, all of that. I mean,
Coney Island's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. Imagine you're a Mets fan. Say, hey, I want to. If I can't go watch the Cyclones, I want them to be on TV. Now the tickets, they're cheap, obviously, but like I want some sort of accessibility. If you're a Met fan, you obviously have the Mets, Syracuse Mets, Binghamton Rumble Ponies. I don't know why you named the team the Rumble Ponies. Regardless, just that accessibility of okay, maybe even I know we just talked about like the close proximity. Like if you're living in Brooklyn, hey, you want to watch the Cyclones on TV, but like longer proximities too. I mean, why can't the CW host? I think the Mets do this where on occasion they will throw on a Rumble Ponies game, but like the Yankees, for example, like
Yes Network.
Isn't there like a Yes 2? Don't they have 2 Yes channels? Because
no, not that I know of.
Not that I know of, but why don't the Yes Network do once a week? They do a AAA team. They do the Scranton game once a week.
I think there are. Well, at least when I was back in New York and we had FiOS, I think there were 2 Yes channels because unless they got replaced by the whole Gotham thing, which has turned out to be a disaster.
Yeah,
where you had the Yankees on one channel and Brooklyn Nets on the other, just like MSG. Like if it was like if the Knicks were playing the same night as the Rangers or the Islanders, Knicks would be on MSG. You would have MSG Sports Networks. You have MSG2. The Islanders would be on MSG2. Like, why can't it be something like that where you have another Yes Network to the point where, like, okay, if the Yankees are on, here's another option. Want to watch the AAA squad? Want to watch the AA squad? Something like that. Have some sort of showcase. But you also don't want to take away from the big league team at the same time. But in me and Donald's opinion, we sure would rather watch the AAA team, who's a lot more hungry than this current construction of the Yankees roster.
Yeah.
So just accessibility. Like that's, you know what? That's how you're going to learn more about your favorite prospects.
right.
You know, not everybody's going to go on and not everybody's going to want top 100 prospects, Baseball America, or MLB.com's top 100 prospects. Maybe you learn something by watching some of these minor league teams.
The visual of it.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I would like more of. But yeah, with the second and I probably shouldn't say anything because I got rid of cable 10 years ago. So I think they could have it. I have no idea. But no, I do think that they do need something. You have this app, this Gotham app. Everything should be anything should be available.
Yes.
You're talking about going to the minor league games. I remember when I lived in Brooklyn, but my first Father's Day, Phil and I,
where in BK did you live?
We went to the Cyclones game,
Where in BK did you live, T?
Huh?
Where in BK did you live, T?
I was in Marine Park.
Yes, I was,
which is if you know where Kings Plaza is, that's where I live.
Yeah.
But it was 20 minutes to get to Coney Island. And you would hop on the Cyclone, get a hot dog, go to the ball game. The New York, the Brooklyn Aquarium was right there. It was always a great day with Phil and my son and myself. So it was those are the things I remember. I actually still have. I gotta look for it. They had a free baseball for Father's Day that one year. And I actually still have the ball somewhere and put away safely. That has the year on it. It was awesome. But even that, like living on Long Island, I'm also 15, 20 minutes away to go see the Long Island Ducks. Which is always great because baseball is not always about the MLB. Baseball is, it should be about wanting to just watch a healthy competition between two teams.
Fact.
That's what the WBC should be. And that's how I'm going to circle it back to that. That's what I want to see out of WBC, not all this other bullshit headline stuff. The underdog story, like you would see in, March Madness. There's always that upset, where how the hell did the number one get knocked out so early? Because they underestimated their opponent. So that's what you want to see out of it. I want to see more teams involved, more countries rather. And I do understand there is like this preliminary thing to be eligible for the Classic. Why aren't they advertising that? So like you said, a lot of the marketing needs to improve if they want this thing to grow to what they want it to be.
Yeah, and it's a shame we have to wait 4 years to prove that marketability. You're right. I think if it was like in 2 years' time, I think it'd be perfect. But
I think every other year is good for it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's get into some Yankee chat.
Yes, let's get to the LaGrange topic we were talking about earlier. Let's get Luca into that.
Well, I was actually going to add a final note on the WBC thing. I also think a big factor of why there's such a lack of interest, Scoobel dropped out. He said, I'm not going to pitch. He pitched one game, and he's like, I'm done. It's a contract year for me. I think that was a huge loss for not just Team United States, but anybody who wanted to watch. And I do feel like, Donald, I agree, it should be every 2 years. It's not exactly the greatest market. And the big thing is, obviously, for some fans, some fans do have the means to travel. Some fans don't have the means to travel. Houston, you're seeing the parks that they're playing in. Houston, which is technically Dyken Park, Lone Depot, Miami, other stadiums down south where some fans just don't want to go down there. It's reasonable because right now it's warm down there this time of year. I can say for even here right now, although it's not technically warm. But regardless, that's to the point. Arizona, I'm sure Southern California, spring training, that's where that's held. Only if there was like a team. I think it's Southern. I mean, I could be wrong geographically, but in Southern California, maybe just locations are a bit of a drop. I'm blanking on the term now. Just a drop off or anything like it. Just draws the viewer's attention off or something like that. I mean, I might be just spitballing here, but I mean, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, also, I think maybe they used to play in Puerto Rico. Maybe they used to play in Puerto Rico, the WBC, when it was first in its inception. So that's also not, I mean, it's a tournament, which means you can see multiple teams play at a certain stadium for the same time for different times. It's just like Big East tournament or something like that. But it was just a random thought of mine that came into my head. But the main point that I was trying to emphasize was Skubal being out was not exactly the greatest, especially that he's the best southpaw in Major League Baseball, entirely saying, hey, I'm not pitching for Team USA. I have a contract that I have to chase.
Yeah, I'm going to do my 55 pitches, and I'm going to get out.
That's a major
Yeah.
issue. Great point.
I want to throw it back to you, Donald, in a second to get the Yankees into the conversation, but to put a little emphasis on what Luca was saying, maybe have it when you have it every other year, have it in the ballparks around the spring training facilities. You know, because a lot of people are spending money to go and travel to see spring training. Now they have an additional expense if they want to see their country play. You know, why not have, you know, the parks that are not being used, you know, around the spring training, whether it's in Florida or Arizona.
Yeah, but fans are going to want to go, bro. There's not going to be enough. There's not going to be enough seats to fit like Mexico fans and all those.
Use a major league ballpark in the area.
It would need to be a major league ballpark. It could be a minor league complex.
Yeah. No. I'm putting that to the equation as well. You know, why not use the Diamondback Stadium? You know, or you know, like they use Miami, it was a great location for it. You know, have a centralized area so you know you're not going. You know, you're not hopping state to state to watch. You know, watch your country play. You know, that might also draw a little more appeal to the tournament itself. That's just my thought.
Well, I mean, is the appeal really that down? I mean, it's a major thing. I just think that Team USA just didn't take it that seriously, and that's on them. I think the appeal is pretty solid.
Yeah, it's like I said, there were too many headlines away from the on-field play that I think just damaged it this year. Yeah, and I think they can have
it caused by Team USA.
But it goes to it, and like what Luca just said, you know, it started with Skubal.
Yeah,
you know, and from there, everything it just seemed like everything else went wrong. So this is all Skubal's fault, not DeRosa, maybe. You know, but that's all in fun. Donald, what's on your mind with the Yankees, buddy?
Nothing really. I mean, obviously we've got some chat here. Brandon Cuddy, he says, I watched Garrett Cole take another big step towards his return from Tommy John surgery and a mostly empty Steinbrenner field. Cole looked great, throwing 96. Nothing goes exactly to plan. I don't know what that last bit means, but that's a great sign. And I believe that there's a push to try and get him. Is there to get him a start before the end of spring training?
From what I've heard, I think yeah. I think they just want to get him one, maybe. I could be wrong on that.
It would be great if we could get him one start before the end of spring. But he's apparently doing very, very well. But Tats, you wanted to bring up LaGrange.
Yes.
What is the Yankee plan for LaGrange?
I don't think the Yankees know what they want to do. I think, look, He's a starting prospect. Like I said, this came up with Evan and Tiki on the fan. I thought it was an interesting talking point. Because they were using the comparisons. Because a lot of fans are saying, start him in the pen. Are we creating the next generation of a Jabba Chamberlain? So I think that that's worthy of a discussion. And I would say I'd rather. Same thing. I remember last spring with Schlittler. A lot of people say find a spot for him. You got to keep him up. If he goes to the minors, he's going to be stuck there. I think that they need to do the same thing here with LaGrange. I think they need to keep him as a starter. Don't try to have him adjust to pitching every 2 days and then sit for a few, and then pitch him 3 days. Sit for if you value him as a pitching prospect, a starting prospect, keep him as a starter. Because next year the rotation is going to be up for an overhaul with some of the arms that we have this year. So I there's going to be room if he's really that good. They might force his hand over if the heel just is not able to get back to himself after coming back. We don't know what the future is going to hold for Clark Schmidt. What's going to happen with Warren? What trades are going to be made? I think that if you really want him to succeed, you have to keep him as a starter. As much as I would love to see him start the season in the major leagues, there's no room in our rotation right now for him. So don't go fucking him up going, we'll just use him in the 7th or 8th inning. Let him continue to grow as a starter. Look what it did last year for Schlittler. We always say they never learn from their mistakes. Learn from your successes as well, because you made the right move there. Do it again.
Point. No, you got to keep him as a starter, I think. I don't want to be messing with him too much. Now, Rodriguez Cruz, I think, should have been someone that should have been in the bullpen this year. I don't totally get why they sent him down. I think with that arm, right. I think with that arm, I think he should have been in the bullpen. Clark Schmidt, I think there's a very good case that when he returns, that he should be stretched as a bullpen arm rather than a starter, because I just don't trust him to stay healthy. And I don't think his body can hold up a guy that the idea of him pitching 30 starts a year is absurd now at this stage, because he just is never healthy. He just isn't. Like, he looks great for 10 to 15 game stretch, and then he gets hurt. And it's the same thing with him. So I would seriously look to maybe just get him and make him in a setup man. I think it would be less of a wear and tear on his arm if he did that. You'd probably get a bit more durability out of him that way. But Will Warren, Doran brings up Will Warren. He's making his case. But by and large, I do agree with Doran here. The Yankees seem to be royally fucked in the bullpen. They need to beef up this pen as much as possible without trading valuable players to get relief pitchers. I completely agree. So let's have a quick look at this bullpen. Look at, what's your thoughts on this bullpen? Is there anyone that we should be paying attention to? What do you say?
I want to go back on LaGrange for a second. I think Tats made a great point about learning from successes. You look at the past couple of years with the Yankees, right? Michael King, Jonathan Loaiza, both failed. I mean, King was a somewhat starter with San Diego, but I'm talking about specifically the Yankees here. Loaiza failed starter. Michael King failed starter. Clark Schmidt, okay, he was a success story, but unfortunately he can no longer stay healthy. So, Donald, you are right. He's going to have to take a long relief type role. I mean, Will Warren, okay, he's back into the bullpen, but it almost seems like Cam Schlittler and what could be LaGrange are the exception to the rule and not the rule itself for how the Yankees develop their starting pitchers. In terms of the bullpen, besides Bednar, I'm kind of worried. I'm kind of worried. I don't think there's enough live arms at the back end of the bullpen. I mean, Duvall, when he's on, but an ERC
Cruz.
been perfect.
Fernando Cruz is good.
Oh yeah, Fernando Cruz. Yeah, I
like
should have mentioned
Cruz.
him. Fernando Cruz and Bednar. Duvall when he's on it, but he's had some control issues last year. I mean, Tim Hill's fine, but I was saying more like a power arm. I would like another power arm, just a live arm. ERC, I think, would have been that. Obviously, we don't know what this Jake Bird character is doing. That seems like an awful pickup, but me and Donald were agreeing on the time that that was an awful pickup. A lot of people liked it, but he pitched in Coors Field, and obviously that didn't benefit him well. Regardless of the point, it just feels a little bit empty this year. And regardless, whether you wanted Luke Weaver back, whether you wanted Devin Williams back, is irrelevant. You need a power arm back there. You would need somebody besides Bednar and Cruz that's like, okay, hitters are going to go up to the plate and start shooting themselves.
So let's salute to Felix Nunez and then TC Steele. Salute to both of you guys. Thanks for hopping on. I'm worried about this bullpen. I think this bullpen could really derail this season unless they get a hold of it because there's just not enough depth there.
No.
You're relying on Duvall, who had real strong problems with his location, to be basically your everyday setup man. Cruz, I like him a lot. That's really it for the power arms, apart from Bednar. But just getting to Bednar, that's really it for them. I mean, do you trust Bird? I don't. That's it. Like, who else is going to be there? Like, who else is in the build? Tim Hill is durable. What was Brian Cashman's idea with this bullpen?
I don't know because there's a happy medium because you don't want to overspend for reliever, but you also don't want to do absolutely nothing at the same time, which the Yankees collectively did. All they did was re-sign Tim Hill, which is fine. He's a fine middle reliever. He's a fine innings. I'm not going to say he's an innings leader, but he's fine for what he is. But you literally have nothing outside of him, Bednar, and Fernando Cruz. That's it. You have to. I mean, Duran just brought up all the Yankee young pitchers: Brendan Beck, Chase Hampton, Bryce Cunningham. But that's going to be the problem, which I just brought up, where you're going to start going back to I would say, just you call it the new rules, and I talked about the exceptions with a Cam Schlittler, where you're solely developing him as a starting pitcher, as opposed to Michael King and Loizaga, who eventually became bullpen pieces. Will Warren, I mean, he's been a starter, but I said he's okay at best. Davey Garcia struggled. You can go down the line. I'm sure I'm missing other pitchers at this point that were once starters but ended up being relievers because they failed. Just keep them where their niche is. There's no reason whatsoever to screw with the development like that.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's being missed is because we have such an abundance of starters. One, there's no reason to force LaGrange into the an opening day roster spot. Instead, I wanted, like I said last year with Schlittler, right? He was my prospect to watch last year. I might be going with another pitcher with LaGrange this year. Well, you'll find that out in the opening day show that we do, where we do all our predictions. But I'm not saying that our bullpen is complete. I think it's far from it. I don't think it's disastrous either. Duvall, who's somebody where Donald and I were at the game on the day of the trade deadline. And when the Duvall news came out, we were ecstatic about it. We were really excited that we were able to get Duvall. We saw a lot of promise with him. And the end of the year, he seemed to really figure it out where he was extremely effective. Now, the bad part is you're on a waiting game. Is he carrying it over to this year? What are we going to get year 2 from Bednar? Is Fernando Cruz, over all his issues, can he be consistent? Can Tim Hill still be the most reliable bullpen arm with the
Right.
bases loaded? But that's every team, every year, every game. The bullpen is always a question mark.
He's left
I-
too many questions, though. T. That's the
But
point.
as I was going to say, I think where what he left desired at the trade deadline is something that we always scream about. Well, you made this trade for a stupid rental. When this year, at the trade deadline, Cashman went and got players that still had years of control. So you don't have to go shopping every offseason and reconstruct the bullpen. But I think he has too many guys that are under control. So you didn't give yourself any options to go and replace any of these guys. We let Weaver go, but who really took Weaver's spot? We took Williams go. I think they're relying too much on the current roster. So we talk about with the offense, with the running it back, but let's talk about the bullpen too. He's running that back as well. And that can
minus two major arms. Minus two major arms, Luke Weaver and Devin Williams. So he's rolling it back minus
two key guys.
Two major arms. We could say we can want about Devin Williams and Luke Weaver, but Luke Weaver was a very durable guy and very reliable guy. Lost him, and they haven't replaced him. Same with Devin Williams. They didn't even look to replace him. They're the major arms that they put into this bullpen this year and this offseason was Chiavelli, who's a complete clown and has been imploding daily in spring training from Colorado, and then Cade Winquist. And Cade Winquist has not worked out at all. He's had a horrible spring. So once again, I go back to the fact that Brian Cashman completely had a horrible offseason. It's a disgraceful offseason. He had a disgraceful offseason. Disgraceful. I just can't get over it because this is a $330 million payroll, and they have maybe a quarter of their bullpen. They have a quarter of a bullpen. It's absurd. And they have 3 lefty catchers. Absurd. They don't really have a Goldschmidt is like their only recognized first baseman on the 40-man. Yeah, I know Bert's going to be I know our boy Rice is going to be our first baseman, but let's be honest, he's actually a catcher. They've got like 7 lefties that are going to be in the lineup. I mean, this is absurd. Brian Cashman has had a horrible offseason. I cannot say that enough. He had a horrible offseason.
Yeah,
like that offseason was a fireable offense. It really was. It was lazy. It was delusional, and there was no process. And he should be ashamed of himself, but he has no shame.
I was going to add real quick, there's 2 things. Number one, Durant says the only worthy free agent left is Colombe. He actually just signed, so he's no longer in the market. And he said letting Weaver go is the right move, Donald. Well, here's the problem with that. Yes, you may not have wanted Weaver back, which I didn't. He was not the same after injury, clearly. And he made some questionable comments in the postseason, but I'll say this. You didn't exactly replace him either. You didn't even replace him in the damn aggregate. You did nothing. You didn't replace him. You didn't bring him back. You didn't even replace him with like 2 pitchers to create him in the aggregate. You just did nothing. That's the problem.
That's the point. I did not want him back, but you let him go and you didn't bring him in. You bring in a replacement. That's the point, Luca. Well, bro, thank you.
Yeah, and when we bring up Weaver and Williams, we're not saying that we wanted them back. I hope they do very well on their new team.
Yeah.
Not well enough to, it's the match. We're not looking for them to have a ton of success. But Weaver's our guy. I want him to do very, very well. Just like with Holmes last year, with the Mets, we wished him the best. But to not mention the loss of those guys in that arsenal and talent level in the pen is a loss. So who's going to take those spots in those high leverage areas, parts of the game? I think you're relying too much on, I think they're putting too much on Bednar, Duvall, Fernando Cruz. I think if they're not careful, those three key guys are going to burn out.
They will be burnt out, bro.
They will. Tim Hill, not worried about him. I always have faith in him.
Yeah.
He'll be fine. If they have to use, but are they going to use Yarbrough in the pen at all? Or are they going to keep him as a starter? What's going to happen when players come back healthy? There's so many questions around it that's where I have to agree with Donald that this offseason for Cashman, it left too many questions. I don't think enough issues were answered. I don't think it's the players he brought back. I don't think he solved any of the key problems that this team had.
No.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, if any of Duvall, Cruz, Bednar get hurt for any period of time beyond a couple of weeks, the bullpen is ruined. That's where we're at.
Bednar goes down, who's your closer?
It'll be Duvall, but if Duvall goes down, then they're finished. Thank you. Thanks for playing.
I was going to say, Aaron Boone already doesn't know how to manage a bullpen, and you gave him absolutely no ammo. I've said before, I'm not even a Boone fan. You literally gave the dude no ammo. You went from we're going to try to give him a three-headed closing monster last year in Jake Bird, Duvall, and Bednar. Then he doesn't know who to close with on a consistent basis, and now this year you're like, nah, we're just gonna go to the other end of the spectrum and now you get no bullpen.
But that's the thing with Cashman. He wants to be the smartest guy in the room all the time. It's his obsession. It's his ego. I know that Clint Frazier says the same thing. It's an ego thing. It's he doesn't want to make the obvious move. He wants to be the smartest guy in the room. He wants to prove to everybody how smart he is. So the Cade Winquist and Chiavelli are the perfect examples of him trying to prove how smart he is. Oh, look at me. I've gone to Colorado and gotten somebody with a 9 ERA, and I'm going to make him into this superstar bullpen arm. And that's imploded in your face. I'm going to trade multiple prospects for Bird because I'm the one that's going to turn Bird around. No one else has yet, but I'm going to be the one that's done that. Oh, wait, no, that's not worked out too well. So, and then it's the same with Cade Winquist. Oh, I got him discarded. I'm going to turn him into a bullpen arm. Oh, no, that's not worked out either. He wants to be the smartest guy in the room. He can't just go into the marketplace and get the best available reliever and work out a deal that way. No. He has to be the smartest guy in the room. It's the common thing with Brian Cashman. And it was. That's it. Winquist was Rule 5. And he wanted to prove to everybody how smart he was by getting a Rule 5 guy, similar to what the Red Sox did when they took our Rule 5 guy and made him into a super bullpen arm.
Garrett Whitlock.
He's trying to do the same thing. It's not quite worked out for you. So, Cashman, he ain't that smart. He ain't as smart as he likes to think he is. But you know what? I think this bullpen conversation is something that we need a whole show talking about because we really need to break down.
No, I mean, the bullpen itself could be we're going to deep dive through a whole show. We'll plan that next week.
I think maybe Monday we or whatever day the three of us are on. We should definitely do a deep dive on this bullpen because it is a serious concern.
Yeah. Yeah, and we won't leave it at that. Want to thank everybody that would join us in the chat. We were hoping to see some of the people on the open panel. Unfortunately, I know Duran wanted to do it, but he doesn't have a webcam. So that's your homework this week. Get a freaking webcam. Get your ass on the show. Got that, Duran? All right. But still, we always appreciate everybody that joins us on the shows and watches us. Whether you're on X, on Facebook, listening to us on the dog work. And everybody listening to us on Sports Warrior Radio. Thank you to everybody. Hope you all enjoyed your week. Hope you all enjoy your weekend.
Holy shit. We got Sunil in the chat. We've not seen Sunil in the chat in a long, long time.
Wow. I thought he just gave up on us. Here he is.
You should come back. You want to see you more
The
often.
Phoenix rises from the ashes.
Good to see you, man.
But still good to see you, even if it's for a minute. But with that, make sure you always do hit that like button. Hit that comment button. Share this out, your friends, your family. Share this on the corner. I am Uncle Tats with Donald, Luca. Everybody, enjoy your day. Enjoy your weekend. We will see you Monday. Wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.
Play harder than Team America does.